Hello and welcome back to Just One More Thing, a weekly podcast about knitting and crafting. I'm your host, Janessa, and I tried something a little bit new with the intro today. Instead of sitting here and getting ready and kind of speeding that part up, which I like on a lot of podcasts that I watch, I decided I would try something different and unique. I hope unique, maybe. I showed you how I made the drink I'm enjoying during today's podcast. It's I think they call it a London Fog. If I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry. It's just what I've heard it called. It's basically an Earl Grey latte, and it's super delicious. If you love Earl Grey tea, I know it's not everyone's favorite, but if you do love Earl Grey tea and you like lattes and caffeinated beverages and hot drinks in general, I think you'll really enjoy it. So this is my version of a London Fog. And I kind of put that sped up a little bit in the intro today. So I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, it was kind of a plug for David's Tea, which I love. I get no kind of affiliation or sponsorship or anything like that with David's Tea. It just happens to be the easiest loose leaf tea for me to get here in the States. Oddly enough, it's kind of hard to come by loose leaf tea. Lipton in every grocery store, but not a lot of loose leaf tea. It's starting to become a little bit more popular, but it's still not super easy to come by, especially in the Midwest. We're coffee drinkers in the Midwest. So anyway, this is a knitting podcast and not a tea podcast. I just happen to enjoy tea like a lot of other knitters do. So I thought I'd throw that in. I hope you had a wonderful Easter or spring break kind of vacation. I don't know, I guess not everyone celebrates Easter. Lots of different holidays basically happening over this past weekend. And so whatever holiday you celebrated, even if it was just the celebration of Saturday, I hope you enjoyed it. We here in Missouri had April Fools and Easter on the same Sunday, and Mother Nature played an epic trick on us all. It snowed. We got 4 inches of snow on Sunday, on April 1st. It was almost a high of 60 degrees the day before, at the very end of March. And that day got really windy and really cold really fast. And then we got snow the next morning. You probably remember me complaining a lot over the winter that we had no snow. We got lots of ice. We had lots of cold days. We had lots of gray. No snow at all over the winter. Completely bone dry on Christmas morning. But for Easter, 4 inches of snow. I don't know. What can you do? On the plus side, I got a lot of use out of my sweaters that I knit at the very end of winter. Both my Comfort Fade that you saw last week and the one I'm going to show you this week, which is the worsted boxy that I did. So, one more drink of that before it gets cold. Oh, I think that's a little bit better. I'm trying something new with camera angles. I'm trying to get the glare from showing up in my glasses, and it's really hard. See, if I lift my head just a little bit, I have to keep my head down, but that seems weird because then I don't know. So I'm trying some things. It probably won't work. The glass glare will probably still continue. No one's really complained about it so far, but it bugs me when I'm editing that all you see is like this glare where my eyes are. Anyway, knitting. Oh. Let's talk about the FOs. So last week, and I would put this on, but even though it snowed yesterday, I'm taping the day after Easter. Even though it snowed yesterday, it's way too hot now to wear it because spring is back unexpectedly. It's raining and the snow is melting, and the house is just way too hot for me to put this thing on. And you wouldn't be able to see much anyway with just my shoulders and head in view, but I am going to put a picture in so you can see, because I wore it the day before Easter when we were doing family celebrations and things. So the worsted boxy is done. This is the back. This is the front. I did make a couple of modifications. One modification I made, let's see if I can get it to show. Let me show you from the front because you can see it from the front. So I'm holding this even, like under the armpits. And you can see there how it's much lower in the back than it is in the front. When I cast on, and I don't want to give too much away because it is a paid for pattern, but when I cast on, I did the front and the back separately so that I could do a split hem like that. And before I joined in the round, I did short row shaping on the back in order to get that dip. Another modification that I made, where is it? On the sleeves. Yep, there you can see that. I didn't do a very good job blocking out my weaving in of my ends there, did I? You can kind of see that. Tug it a little bit and get it to disappear. Okay, you can still see it, but anyway. On the sleeves, as you can see, I did no decreasing. It's straight. When I picked up along the side, I did straight out. On the first sleeve, and thankfully I did this after the first sleeve, so I didn't have to rip out two. After I knit the first sleeve, I tried it on, and the tapering with my big old arms, it was just really, because the sleeve starts about here, and even like over that little bit of 6 inches of this part of my arm is still quite a bit bigger than I suppose most people who are my size. Big girl problems. But the nice thing about knitting is that you can adjust that. So I didn't it was just too tight and it was pulling, and even though technically it fit, I just didn't like the way it was fitting. So I ripped that all out and I knit those, I don't know that it's just under 6 inches. But I knit that just straight. And then instead of doing the ribbing for the bind off that it calls for, I did I-cord, an applied I-cord bind off. I don't know that you would call it applied. I did an I-cord bind off. I thought it complemented the rolled neck just a little bit better. So, yep, those are all the modifications I made. So I modified the sleeve, I modified the hem. Otherwise, it is a straightforward worsted boxy, and I love it. It's so comfortable. It is pretty heavy. I think I would also really like to have one in the fingering weight, just because this is so heavy, and sometimes you want like a nice sweater, but not quite such a heavy sweater, because I still have to wear something under this. So the wool's not like next to skin soft, so I would still need to wear like at least a t-shirt or something under it. And on like slightly cool days, it would be too much. It would be too hot, like today, for instance. But overall, I'm super, super happy with it. And one more time, here's another picture of it, of me wearing it. So I was really excited that, one, I got it done in 2 weeks. It took me to knit that. So I got it done, and I got to wear it before it got too warm to wear sweaters. So yay! I was happy about that. I want to show you one more finished object, and this is like a hiatus finished object. So I did not cast this on and finish it in the time between episodes that you're seeing this. I cast this on January 1st is when I cast it on, and I finished it just before the end of January. So you have seen this before if you watched some of the past episodes before I took my weird break. This is the My Sister shawl. And this is a pattern from Cozy Up Designs. You might watch Cozy Up with the Stitchin' Sisters on YouTube. They have a video podcast as well, a knitting podcast. And this is a design that the 4 sisters collaborated on together. So it has little bits each of their things that they like about knitting patterns and shawls. I don't know what the word I'm looking for there is. The pattern is written in fingering weight, and for some reason, I don't know if I just wasn't paying enough attention or what, I ended up buying sport weight yarn to do mine in. So mine's a little bit heavier. And to me, honestly, it almost feels like it's a worsted weight yarn. It's a pretty heavy sport. I dyed it myself. It was Bear Yarn Wool of the Andes Sport from Knit Picks, which is, I think, a very heavy sport weight yarn. So I did dye it myself. I ended up re-dyeing. I only dyed like one skein of each, and then I ran out of yarn, so I had to re-dye yarn. And I think I only ended up having to re-dye the yellow and the blue. I don't think I re-dyed, maybe I did re-dye some of the other, I can't remember. Regardless, I ended up like tearing all of the yellow out, like all the yellow out of the middle and off the one end where I'd ran out of yarn, and I kind of re-dyed it, kind of respeckled it just a little bit. So I had to re-knit that, but it was a super fast knit. Had I been able to just sit down and knit on it, I probably could have had it done like within a week, but it was a knit along, a mystery knit along, so you had to wait for each clue to come out. So I think in total it was 4 or 5 weeks of knitting. I'm really happy with the result. It's a very nice warm shawl. If I had to do it over again though, I would hack it just a little bit. And at some point I probably will knit another one because it is a nice pattern. But this is my favorite part. This right here. I would have put it in the middle and then put the mesh here and then done lace on the ends as well. I understand why they put this on the end, because trying to chart, or not chart because it wasn't charted, but trying to figure out this lace, that diamond lace on a decreasing slant would have been a pain. It would have been a horrible headache of a pain. It's much easier to figure out mesh on a decrease than it is to figure out a repeat of lace on a decrease. But that's kind of what I wish. I kind of wish there was more of the diamond lace and less of the mesh. Or maybe make like the eyelet part longer. I don't know. But it is a really nice pattern. I really, really enjoyed it. And it's super, like, I can wrap it around kind of just across my shoulders. But I have been wearing it like this. Like that. And this is why I want the lace in the middle, because this is how I wear it, and that's what I want people to see is the lace. But sometimes I flip it just a little bit and wear it like that so that the lace does show up as well. But then I don't know, it's harder to keep on because it's all wonky. But anyway, that's my sister shawl, and you should definitely go get the pattern and knit one for yourself because they're super, super fun. I think they also, if you don't like the big long scarves, they also have the pattern adapted to a cowl, and they put a version of that lace on a pair of socks. I think those are the ones that they kind of hacked the patterns a little bit. So definitely go give it a try because it's a fun pattern and it's really well written. All right, what should we talk about next? Let's go for works in progress. I cast on a new pattern, and there's really not much to see. It is still very much in the beginning stages. It is wee. I have cast on for the, wait for it because I forgot the name. Bexley. I want to say it's the Bexley pullover. I had Bexley right. The Bexley Popover. Here's a picture of what that looks like. This was one of my Make 9, 2018 Make 9 kind of goals, was to make one of these. It's another really boxy, loose-fitting top. It reminds me a lot of, in construction, it reminds me a lot of the boxy, if you've knit any of the boxy patterns. It reminds me a lot of that as far as like shape, and it's also like if you left the sleeves off, because it's not really a vest because it drops down, but it's basically like you don't really have to pick up and knit a sleeve. You have to like finish an edge for the sleeve basically. So it's got that kind of short sleeved, just over the shoulder look that I like with the boxy. It's got a V-neck with like an edging, kind of like a really neat edging for the V-neck on it. So the construction is very interesting. I don't know, it is a paid for pattern, so I don't want to give much away. I will tell you that it is not written for in the round. It is a pieced sweater, but because I have experience with doing the boxy in the round, I know what I need to do in order to do this with knitting most of the body in the round. So I did cast on for in the round. I did make that modification, and I'm knitting it out of 2 different colors, you will notice. So Wool of the Andes in Cobblestone Heather and Bramble Heather are the 2 colors I'm knitting it out of. These are actually, like, the further away you get from them, and if they're in shadow, they're not too far off. This one has a little more brown, this one has a little more blue in it, but they're both a very dark gray color. And the reason I'm doing this is because I only have 10 balls of each yarn, and the pattern calls for 12 in my size. So rather than getting most of a sweater and running short or having to size down, because it's a loose fitting sweater, there's a lot of ease. So technically I could have gone down like 2 sizes and have it still fit, but it would have been like a fitted sweater. So I could have done that and gotten away with the amount of yarn that I had, but I wanted it to be an actual loose, like something like a layering piece that I could put over a shirt or tank top or whatever. So I am striping it, and I don't know how well it's going to show up. Oh, it does. In the light, it does show up. So you can see I'm just doing stripes. My plan is I did the hem in the Cobblestone Heather. So my plan is to do stripes, but do the edging on the V-neck and the edging on the sleeves in the Cobblestone Heather as well, to kind of like pull it all together. But it's such a, I mean, from back here, you can't tell that it's striped. You really have to get up close and in the light to tell that it's striped. I think it's going to look nice. I'm excited about it. I don't know how fast this one will get done because I'm not in a hurry to wear it anytime soon. It's going to be a sweater for next year. And I also have 2 other sweaters that my mom wants knit, and I don't want to put those off too much. So I'm going to kind of work all 3 simultaneously. I figure with 3 different sweaters on the needle, I'll always have something stockinette to knit, and I won't get bored working on the same one over and over again. So, plus the one of the sweaters, the one that I'm going to knit for my mom is out of Pima cotton. So that'll be at least a nice lightweight one that I can work on when it gets really hot over the summer. The other two are pretty warm, so I'm going to get those cast on first and work on those while it's relatively cool, and then do that third one when it gets really warm over the summer. That's the plan. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Next, I want to show you, you all may remember that I participated in something called Initiate Knit Design with Aroha Knits. Frenchie, who's the designer with Aroha Knits, does, I think maybe twice a year or something, she does this kind of design challenge where she condenses the design process into 5 different steps and does like a 2-week long or a week-long challenge on helping you design your own projects. And I had a lot of fun with the first time I did that, which was when I designed my Chasing River shawl that you may remember. There's a picture of it in case you don't. That's what I designed the first time around. And then I am doing another hat for this challenge. I had a lot of fun doing the hat over Christmas, the My Way hat, which is with my tech editor, and that means that within probably about like a week to 2 weeks, it'll be up on Ravelry. Yay! And so I decided I would do another hat. I wanted to do something that was really lightweight, because even in like the early spring and fall, I still like having a hat on to wear, and on bad hair days, there's days that I just don't want to have to fix my hair. So I wear lots of like headbands and hats. And so I wanted something that was like lightweight enough to be able to do that. So I'm designing a hat that is 2 colors, and these are the 2 colors that I'm using. I can't remember their names at the moment. These are Palette from Knit Picks. I think this one's called like not Calypso Heather, Clementine. I don't know. It's one of the, it's like the purple heather. And then this one is Oyster Heather. I have it written down somewhere. I probably have it written down right here in my little design notebook. I could tell you. Yes, I do. Clematis Heather and Oyster Heather. The Clematis is the purple. I want to say it's like Clamato or something, but it's Clematis. Anyway, I'll give you a little sneak peek of my design journal here. I'm not going to hold it too close, and then you won't be able to read all my chicken scratch, but so like it starts out and you kind of do like a word storm of like ideas and inspiration, and maybe draw out like a little sketch and what do you want things to look like. And then I went through like pages and pages of trying to chart out different lace for flowers. And, you know, kind of like working on like how I want the pattern to read in construction, more trying to figure out the placement of where I'm going to put lace stitches. Today's part 4 of the challenge, and we're figuring out like based on our gauge swatch, which I'm going to show you here in a second, like how many stitches do you cast on, how many rows do you work, like figuring out the math of a pattern, which, you know, before I started taking her challenge, it just seemed to me like you would cast on and knit and then like take notes as you go. And then when you get done, then you measure and you know the measurements. But she does it in a way that really teaches you how to do the math beforehand, so that you're not like casting on and ripping out and casting on and ripping out. And it saves time. Math is my least favorite thing though. So here was a gauge swatch that I did trying to figure out lace stitches. I wanted these like flower stitches, and ones that I kind of decided on is going to be a lot like this little stitch here. That little flower, it's going to look different than this, but it's most similar to that one is the one I ended up deciding on. So that was my like trying to figure out my lace stitches swatch. And then this one is a little bit closer to what the design's going to look like, because this was, I did in the round, but I did in the round where you bring the yarn across the back, so you're only ever like knitting one side in the round. And again, this was playing a little bit with lace stitches, but this is essentially what my hat's going to look like. It's going to be micro stripes alternating with bands of lace. So there we go. You can kind of see some of the lace stitches. You can see where I got off a row and my lace like ended up going wonky right there. I wasn't counting or something. You shouldn't knit lace when you're visiting with company. That's the lesson learned here. So that's the hat that I'm designing. I'm really excited about it. And yay for another successful Initiate Knit Design challenge with Frenchie from Aroha Knits. So if you have ever wanted to design something yourself, if you've been a knitter for a long time, you probably have essentially designed something yourself. You've just never bothered to write it out or try to publish it or try to get other people to knit it. And she kind of gets you over that hump of believing in yourself so that you can actually go out there and design something yourself and knit something yourself. So I definitely recommend that. And believe it or not, other than knitting like one row on my dotted ray shawl, that's all I've knit this week. I've worked on those two things. I finished off the boxy. I started that Bexley popover, and I've been working on the ad design and getting the other one ready to publish. That's all I've done. So not a hugely productive week here at Just One More Thing, but it is, you know, sometimes you get a lot more done and sometimes you don't. It always, technically I did get a lot done because I finished a sweater. It just doesn't seem like I got a lot done because it was just that one thing. Does that make sense? I don't know. So let's see, anything else going on worthy of note other than the fact that it snowed on April 1st. The kids actually had a lot of fun with April 1st. My son over Christmas got, it was like a bingo prize at a family event thing. He got this little like stuffed monkey that he calls Mike the monkey, and it's his favorite monkey, and he sleeps with it at night, and you know, it's like his lovey of choice at the moment. And over the weekend, the kids convinced their dad to take them to the dollar store and buy them a toy. And Brooklyn picked out an exact copy of Mike the Monkey, except hers is bright pink, neon pink. Because, you know, she thought, well, it would be fun to have one and then, like, they could play together or something. I don't know. Or she just wanted to annoy her brother, which is probably the more likely scenario. Because now he doesn't have something that's just his. He has, like, a copy of something. Anyway, for April Fool's, after they went to bed, she got up and switched Mike the Monkey for her neon pink monkey in the middle of the night without Emerson noticing. So the next morning when they got up, on the weekends, it is very common for Emerson to get up and wake up Ben, and they come out to the living room and they sit in the rocking chair and they like fall back to sleep in the big recliner. They're supposedly drinking coffee that early in the morning, but they always just fall back to sleep. So Brooklyn comes out and is just giggling and giggling and giggling and wakes them up. And she goes, Emerson, are you missing something? And she holds up his Mike the Monkey, which confuses him because he thinks that he is holding on to Mike the Monkey because they're exactly the same toy. Oh, he got so mad. He had been tricked and she had switched his monkey in the middle of the night. I think he even got very dramatic and was like, I have counted all the hairs on his head and one is missing. which it probably wasn't, and he didn't. But you know that old saying, like, if you touch one hair on his head. He's heard that somewhere, and he exclaimed that Brooklyn had harmed Mike the monkey. It was a little bit of chaos on Easter morning. But once he calmed down and we explained to him that it wasn't meant to be a mean joke, it was an April Fool's prank. And then he spent the rest of the day trying to get her back, a little bit unsuccessfully. I told her that she needed to just be like, you know, pretend to be surprised or whatever, and so that he would just feel a little bit of accomplishment for tricking his sister. But that, of course, didn't happen either. So that was our Easter. The kids got the Easter bunny, brought the kids flower pots. So we planted flowers indoors. They're still sitting indoors because of the snow, but they had fun doing that as kind of our Easter activity. That's, we always try to give them something spring related to get them outdoors on Easter, like chalk, or one year they got like scooters. That was like a year where we went like kind of overboard and we got them each like scooters so that they could go right around. This year we got them flower pots and seeds, so we're planting things for spring. That's kind of been our week. We had a fun weekend. Yeah, it was nice. And that's all I have for you. So this is going to be super short. It's only like 30-ish minutes, and I haven't cut out all of my like rambling yet. I cut a lot of that out. So it's going to be a super short episode. Sorry about that. I'll try to have more knitting to share with you next week, or at least more content. Maybe I'll do a book review or something. I don't know. Probably not. Anyway, have a wonderful week. Stay warm if it's also snowing at the beginning of spring where you live. And we will see you next week.
Hi, I'm Brooklyn Keller. Instead of drawing, I'm gonna color. Brighter. I might just outline them. So how you outline is you take a pen, black ink I prefer, and you just follow your original pencil marks. Just be careful not to mess up. And then I'll color in a second as soon as I get them outlined. If the pen dries, or if you have one of those gel pens that don't smear, you can erase your pencil marks outlined. It's get better. Blue. Yeah, I love it, but if I don't add them with pencil, I add shadows. This is probably gonna be 20 minutes long. My mom will edit the parts. And then the skin, I'm almost done. The coloring is, you want to add shadows if you're gonna hang out in a public place. If you aren't really, then I wouldn't worry about it. But if you're an animator for a show or talented artist, and you just don't know how to really color the pencils by hand, because I think I filled up if you don't know if you're an artist. I think sand. I'm just about done here.